One day, I walked myself into the hospital because I did not trust what I would do next. I later planned to overdose and ended up on suicide watch. And today, I am seated here in front of the camera telling my story because there could be someone else out there feeling the same and thinking they are alone. You are not alone. This is what my journey through depression, medication, therapy, and healing looks like. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sophia and I am basically checking in and probably helping someone. I'm checking in on my mental health situation. So if we can go straight into it. So I'll be looking down because I have a notebook with my talking points. So what led to the breaking point was life gives lemons. And I think it has basically given me a forest over time, but it reached a time when I lost interest in everything. I really love to create and I was no longer creating. For example, I have a sewing machine that I had spent years without touching. I love to crochet. I had not put anything together. I love arranging these. I love putting my home together, decorating within my capacity, and I stopped doing that. I stopped taking care of my body. I stopped showering. I stopped caring. I would not eat, and if I ate junk and still not clean it up. I would show up for work just because I had to pay the bills, adulting, but if I had a choice, I would not go because even when I went, it was not the me that wanted to be there. I barely participated in anything. My work involves field activities, radio talk shows. By then, we were doing those and I wasn't excited about them. I would go not prepared, but because I'm experienced in the field, of course you get something to talk about, but I was not interested. We'd go for inspections and I would count on my teammates to actually do the work with me, just keeping a presence and being quietly present. I would not sleep. I really loved to scroll. If I wasn't scrolling, I was sleeping. I would burst out crying. In one of our local languages, we say just out of the blue, and I was very bitter with my kids, so I thought I wouldn't get emotional. But then it reached a time I was meant to go for an inspection with my colleagues, and I just called. I told one of them that I am unable to come. I am sick and I am going to check myself in. So I went to a nearby hospital that was Timara Hospital, and I was attended to by a doctor who wasn't a psychiatrist, but he was really amazing because I spent over an hour in that office and we were chatting. We were laughing as I cried it out. He was so proud of my achievements that I didn't see. And fast forward, the hospital linked me up with a psychiatrist and I got in touch with him. I was later diagnosed with major depressive disorder and started on treatment. I was on drugs and therapy at the same time. So how did I end up on suicide watch? There's one thing about mental health medication is that it does not work like analgesics. It does not work like painkillers. It is not instant. Okay, I'm not going to I'm not going to explain the backside of it, but I mean, I understand how the drugs work, being a pharmacist by training. I did know that it would take time. My doctor did let me know that it would take time, but they don't work instantly. You just have to keep on and take. But then there's one thing that is really, really amazing with the mind is that even if the drugs have not yet reached a point of giving you a noticeable difference, by the fact that you have understood the problem and sought help, it kind of makes the brain feel better, just knowing that I am working upon it. So, but then there were sleep disturbances. I would always check in with my doctor. It's doing this, I am added a drug. It's doing this, I am added a drug. And I kept on like that for a while until one day I called my sister and told her, you know what, this is what is happening. I can no longer take care of the kids. Could you please have them? So she took them, and I just continued trying to fight it through until I couldn't. So one day I called her to give me back my kids. She didn't stay so far away so that I cook for them. That was really the intent. And I cooked. I didn't plan to do anything bad to myself, but I cleaned the house really well. I prepared. I didn't intend to be emotional, but I guess we're all. I prepared a very beautiful meal for them, and they brought them. We were happy. We ate. I fed my baby Sidra, and the neighbors' kids came. So there were very many kids around. My house is always open to anyone willing to enter. And whenever my children were around, the neighbors' kids also came. So, but as we were eating, I looked at them and I knew I was failing them by the fact that they were not living with me because I couldn't be with them. I went and locked myself in my room, just having that thought that I was failing. I locked myself in my room and started thinking, oh, the bad thoughts anyone could think of. I thought of overdosing. I looked at my drugs, and I was taking the main drug was a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and I knew exactly what would happen to my body if I overdosed on them. So I was like, yeah, instead of being here a failure and being someone who can't help my kids, I will go. So, but being the nice person I am, I had to cancel appointments. I had to tell my doctor that I had failed him. So I first called my colleague with whom we were meant to go on radio the following day. And we had planned that I would show up as he would handle other things. So I called him to make sure we do not miss out on that. I called him to let him know that I wasn't going because I wasn't okay, and there is a very big chance that I would not be on this world the following day. Of course, I was crying because I had given up. By this time, the kids were still chanting and playing. The TV was really loud in the living room. So I believe he noticed I wasn't okay, and on his side, he started looking for where I stay. But I was off the call. The next person I called was my doctor to let him know that I had failed, to let him know that I'd really tried. And I really thank you, Dr. Kimana Benedict, because you kept me. You kept me on the phone call. So I really thank my doctor for what he did, because what he did was he kept me talking. He asked me all sorts of things, and I believe he called my sister, because I remember we talked about anyone near who would come home or who would take care of the kids, family, any family member who wasn't so far away from me. So I told him about my sister. I told him I trust that she would take care of the kids when I'm gone. I told him I trusted that they would be better off with her than me. And during that time, I believe he asked for her number, did not get off the phone with me, but still contacted her. So my doctor kept me engaged. And while perhaps him and his team, I don't know how he did it, talking to my sister, I got off the phone call when my sister was knocking at the door. Meanwhile, my colleague had traced where I stay, because we often go for field activities, and when the vehicles are dropping us off, it is easy for some colleagues to find out where I stay. So he had to call those I had worked with before if anyone knew my home, and luckily someone did. So he also got there, and they both took me to the hospital. I ended up on suicide watch, and I thought that would be very easy to talk about now, because that was 2023 December. But apparently it's not. But still, here I am sharing good news, because before, as much as I am sad, I'm not crying visibly. Before I would be. So I was in hospital for about a week, and was basically medication sleeping therapy, and I was at Nakasero Hospital. It was such at the acute psychiatric unit. It was such a great team, and while there, I noticed that I was a little bit going back. I reached the hospital and I was crying hysterically. I kept on telling them, my body is fine. I am fine. I am fine. It is a mental illness, not a physical one. The BP will be normal. All the vitals will go really well. And then you're like, why am I here? People are up there battling with all sorts of diseases, but me, I'm here. These baseline tests are saying I am okay. So I am here. But they decided to keep me there, and while there you get to see other people who are also hospitalized and worse off than you. Not to laugh about the situation, but yeah, it just gave me hope, and I was grateful over time that I sought help. I was very grateful for the team, for everyone who rescued me, and I did not want to be there at first. I was thank you. I will not mention names, but I had colleagues who ran to come and help me because my colleague had to call others to ask them where I was, and one of them sat on the floor and told me his story, which was similar yet different to mine. He was so proud of me. He made me stay in the hospital. I was throwing tantrums. I did not want to be there. But seeing other people worse off than me. Okay, I'll share one patient. There was one patient who I think had a different kind of diagnosis or situation. He used to leave his room, like we had to walk around. I mean, you couldn't stay in your room the entire time. So, but for him, and I was there for quite some time, over 7 days. For him, he used to walk around with each and everything he has, like a cup tied on his sleeve, his bag, his everything. I think everything he had in Uganda, because he didn't look Ugandan. Maybe he had more, but the basics, like tied on his clothes. We had people who would shout the entire night. We had, okay, it's a different world out there. To the point that we would laugh over it with my sister. I don't know if I have some pictures to show. But then later I was discharged, of course, on medication. I had to keep getting therapy, and life has been up and down since. My experience with medication wasn't, the experience with medication is not the best, but I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, it is medication, so. The medication at some point made me anxious, and I started maybe daring too much. I love to drive at a speed that is not advised for Kampala streets. I did not want to be patient in line, because our roads are really full of traffic. Anywhere my car would fit, I would try to make it pass. At one point, we were waiting in line, and the vehicle in front of me, the policeman opened the line, because for us, traffic police sometimes controls traffic. And when the policeman opened the line, I think the dude was on the phone or something. He wasn't moving. I pushed him with my car from behind, like pushed his car with my car. Under normal circumstances, Sophia cannot do that. Otherwise, I had mood changes. Very high, very low. If I missed a drug, I would be low. If I took the drug, I would be so high. So, yeah, we kept on. I kept on going back and forth, adjusting the medication and medication to counteract the side effects. The sleep disturbances. I started eating better. I started being enthusiastic. And the way things happened for me to end up in hospital, it included my workmates. So that meant that the job got to know. So you expect whispers in the corridors. So that may impact you positively or negatively. But anyway, because of that, as I was leaving the hospital, that last talk with the doctor before discharge, I did tell him that I feel better, I'm going more positive with good thoughts. I was thinking good thoughts, but then I was afraid of one thing. I was afraid of going back to a judgmental workplace because there is a lot of stigma around mental health. I am a medic, I am a pharmacist, and I work with so many of them. But I mean, recently I talk about mental health openly, so I was sharing about this casually over breakfast, and a pharmacist asked me, how do you know you're depressed? Like, how do you know? Otherwise, that is an indicator that not everyone understands this, not even those who have studied it. So that is why we have specialists in that field. Anyway, my answer was, imagine your mind fighting so hard to stay alive, but your body too tired and it wants to rest. That is what depression feels like. So yeah, I was on medication and therapy for a while. Therapy is quite expensive in Uganda and not covered by insurance when you're out of the hospital. So I had to pay for that out of my pocket. So I dropped it early on. I kept on with the medication for a long time until I felt that I was okay. I sincerely did not go back to my doctor to get me off the medication. That is why I have an appointment with him to let him know what I did. But yeah, telling the workplace, I had to disclose it because it was already there, and I took advantage of a retreat that we had. Otherwise, my unit, sometimes we meet up somewhere and plan or do something work related. So I asked for time during that time, and I shared my story. I shared what I had learned so far, self-assessment, what questionnaires, what they asked me, and how my life was before and how my life was that led me to that point where we started from. And that helped me address the whispers in the corridors. However, much as I address that, there are those who you'll find a very supportive group, and then you'll find a group that is not supportive. For example, there is this one lady who, on that very day, at the end of the day, told me that I was being too much. I was speaking too much. I was irritating people. So remember the other colleague I told you talked me into staying in the hospital? Well, I reached out to him and I told him what happened. I told him I regret sharing, and then he was like, you were not too much. And I don't think he was just because you don't lose your mind. Like, it's not that you're going to start abusing people when you do not know. No, it's not that they will be talking about topic A, and for you bring a random topic in a meeting. No, if you want to speak, you're going to speak about what they're speaking about. So I do not know what made her say that, but yeah, those things happen. You expect them. So if you're meant to tell your workplace, just know that there is a lot of stigma around mental health. You may get support, but trust me, you also get such people. There are times when I did feel like they wouldn't trust me with certain roles. At the very first beginning, I was okay with that because I also needed to concentrate on healing and at least do the basic things that I had even stopped doing. But over time, I think as they do that, as they see that you're doing those better, they will eventually trust you with the big stuff too. I'm at that point now. There is a very big impact on being honest, because then I told a very small story, and now here I am telling the world without being compelled. I was kind of compelled to tell the other one because I needed to address the rumors in the corridors. And today, I'm sharing with you because you are not alone, or someone you know is not alone. And please seek help, or advise that person to seek help. And And if you have watched until this far, a subscription to the channel will be supportive. Like, share, comment, all those things. Well, how do I assess my mental health now? I track my moods. I am well aware of the grey cloud, as I call it, and many of us call it. It's more or less like you having a frequent visitor who comes and goes and comes and goes. You get to know who they are, and you get to know when they are coming. Sometimes, like a very strong scent from far away, you can tell that it is coming. And I recently went through other medical conditions that led to excruciating pain, and I used to tell my family that I think the pain took the depression away. I don't really feel it. Otherwise, you can feel it. And I have come up with ways of checking myself in, journaling, doing the things I love to do to keep busy. I pulled out that sewing machine again. I crochet every now and then, and as much as right now I am not doing it for me, like let me sew a dress for myself, the interest has not gone back to that level yet, but I have changed it into teaching my kids, and they love it. Like if it is cooking, we just go to I basically get myself up when I really, really don't want to, and I tell them, you know what, girls, I only have girls, you know what, girls, we are cooking, and of course they'll be excited. I am teaching them how to sew and those little things. For the times when they are not around, one main reason why I posted on this channel 3 years ago, 3 months ago, and today, perhaps that, but starting with this video after 3 months is me checking myself in and taking this as a journal, and hopefully, inshallah, I'll be back to share more about anything that I would love to share about. It's a journal, talk about stuff. So how do I assess myself? I have come up with, as I told you, it's a visitor you know from afar because they are frequent visitors. But I have put up my self-assessment. Perhaps I'll put it up there, but just to show you. It's titled, Am I Okay? So this is a private guide to understanding depression. It is basically a self-assessment guide. It has a questionnaire that they basically use medically. It has checklists. It has basically self-help strategies like journaling, naming my emotions. I feel sad. I feel like boxing the wall, and of course I will laugh about it. After, I have the body and routine, checking in with my body, taking that shower, even if I don't want to, getting back in the routine. As a Muslim, I have to pray a minimum of 5 times a day on most days, woman. And with depression, it may make that hard or impossible, but push myself to do it. Other faith reasons also make me do it. To rest when tired, to eat simple, connection. I do have people I talk to. My young sister has been such an amazing person in this. I thank you, Mariam. I love you forever. I have online communities, and I've written that all here. I'm still finding out ways to share with the rest of the world. I'll figure it out, inshallah. Now that we are starting this, I pray that I am consistent so that I find out the best way to share this. So why am I telling this story now? I am telling this story now for the person who feels unsafe in their own mind. I am telling this story now to remove shame from the conversation. For anyone seated with me, if a conversation is steered in the mental health direction, I'll address it as it is, and I'll address it as someone who has suffered and is still struggling with major depressive disorder. I am sharing it because healing did not look linear. It certainly isn't. It is up and down, up and down, up and down, and I need some people to know that. And also because we really, really need to address it. I did not plan to share statistics in this video, but depression is one of the leading causes of death. I'm looking around because I do not have the numbers, but look it up as I look it up too. So the question is depression forever? Perhaps I'll answer that in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.